pay. Sipping on lattes without care. From touchdowns to that perfect roast. For them and us, let's raise a toast.
Good morning, Adam. You doing okay there?
Yeah, you might need a little something extra in that coffee and latte going this morning because
In
it's
Irish coffee, as we call it in Chicago.
Yeah, we are right back to sort of a familiar place that seems like this franchise has been for a long, long time. Johnsy, you're in Houston. I am back in Chicago where the Bears have already returned home from last night's 19-13 loss. And man, it just feels like a lot of the same. Your initial thoughts before we get into what we liked, what we disliked, and honestly, I know it's only week 2, but I think we need to have a discussion about levels of panic for certain areas of this this team.
All right, since we're gonna get to that a little bit later, I'll start with this for my initial thought. The Bears, believe it or not, had a chance to win that game with 1 minute and 37 seconds left. And I think since we're going to talk at length about our concerns so far after 2 games, maybe I should praise the defense for putting the Bears in that situation on the road, giving them a chance in the fourth quarter to do something, to be something, to own the moment. We know the offense of Caleb Williams didn't come through, but let's give the defense its due a little bit because they played quite well against CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely the glass half full look at things. And I think that's fair to say that, and this is how I ended our CHGO Bears show late last night, which was, hey, look, as bad as it looked offensively, there's a lot of evidence that this team's going to be very competitive in a lot of games. And they have a very soft next few weeks, it appears, on the schedule as well. Definitely some winnable games all the way through London. So that's an indication that this team isn't necessarily going anywhere or headed, towards a long losing streak or anything like that. The other hand is to look at what you just said, Johns, in that they had the ball in the last couple minutes of the game with a chance to win. Which before the game, I would have said, I mean, I think most Bears fans would have taken that.
Take it.
The problem is once we arrive to that moment, what was your level of confidence they were actually going to score?
Well, I've covered those moments before. Those moments are the ones that we criticize Justin Fields time and time again about. Those are the moments where you need your quarterback to rise to the moment, to rise to the challenge, to lead your team to victory. Those end-of-game 2-minute situations is where the great quarterbacks become great. That's what we were waiting to see from Justin Fields. We never saw it consistently enough, if at all. So this was Caleb Williams' first opportunity to have such a moment. 1:37 left, 1 timeout on the 20. It's his first pass for a big game. And you're thinking, all right, this could be different. But then Darnell Wright gets put through the spin cycle. He's on his knees as Danielle Hunter makes another sack.
Yeah. And then he didn't seem to be on the same page with Rome Odunze to end it. And that's kind of where we start this show with our level of panic on some areas of this offense, most specifically. We'll get to Caleb because I think this kind of all adds up to what your level of panic should be on the quarterback. But let's start with just your offensive line situation right now. Scale of 1 to 10, 10 being highest level of panic. Where are you at, Johnsy?
9.5. 9.5. Now I want to preface it with this. They faced 2 very daunting challenges at defensive tackle in week 1. They faced 2 very good pass rushers here in week 2. So the level of competition right off the bat of this season has been like the degree of difficulty. It's been a 10, but it has to be better than this. It has to be better than what? 7 sacks. How many more hits? 10 hits.
Yeah.
It's not good.
23 total team pressures.
And it's not just that, like, I get that sacks happen. I get the quarterback is responsible for some sacks. But some of these are not on the quarterback. Some of these are losses right away by the offensive line. Some of these, like, here's another extension of this conversation. The Bears can't run the ball.
Yeah.
So if you're going to, like, that starts up front. Last couple of years, they've been a good run offense for some reason. After 2 games, can't run the ball. Now, that could be partly because of who they're playing, but sometimes you run straight at good pass rushers and you have success. So that's like the most alarming thing about the offensive line. Like I get there's a lot of things that go in the pass rush and protecting quarterbacks that way, but the Bears can't run the damn ball, and that's a damn problem.
Yeah, because that doesn't really give you any chance to then pass protect when they dial up the heat the entire second half. And I already saw this morning, courtesy of Next Gen Stats, that the Texans blitz rate last night was the highest it's ever been under D'Amico Ryans since he became the head coach of the Texans last year. So they found a formula within that game to continually dial it up. And that doesn't help when, I mean, that's a lot easier to do when you're consistently stopping the run at the same time. My level of panic on this offensive line is a 9.9. I'm going to go even higher than you. And I don't go all the way to 10. I considered a 15 at one point. Then I slept on it a little bit. I'm going to leave it at 9.9 because sort of what you said about the level of talent that they face. Not every week is going to be as hard as it's been the first 2 weeks. And there will be some improvement. Like there just has to be, whether that's personnel changes or just figuring out some of these stunts that have been a complete disaster. They've basically not picked up a single one through 2 weeks. It's got to get better. The problem is I don't see it being good because the bar is so low right now. And that's how bad it's been through his first 2 games. I don't see this being a good situation for Caleb Williams to develop in this season. And that is why my panic level is that high. Can it be good enough to squeak out still 7, 8, 9 wins? Sure. Because I think the defense and special teams, and there's still going to be some, Caleb making plays at times. Those will come. But I am so discouraged by what I've seen, especially on the interior of this offensive line through 2 games, that we shouldn't be shocked because it's the same old story with this franchise. But it really felt like it was going to be different, a different situation for this quarterback to develop in. And right now, it looks bleak when it comes to what he's got in front of him to help him right now. It really does. And I think that anybody panicking over the offensive line right now, it's completely justified.
Darnell Wright looked like the Darnell Wright that we saw early in camp.
Yeah.
Where Montez Sweat just had his way with him. And yes, he did get progressively better as camp went on, but in a primetime game, you wanted one of your players who's supposed to be, one of your primetime players as a top 10 pick to look like it in some plays. They couldn't run behind him. That pass protection, especially late in the game, it wasn't good for the young player.
All right. Level of panic on offensive coordinator Shane Waldron.
10. 10. I tried talking myself down there briefly for like 5 seconds, but the Bears have one offensive touchdown. One offensive touchdown in 2 games. And again, it looks like the Titans have a good defense. Looks like the Texans have a good defense. But your quarterback is getting banged around too much. Your run game's not working. You're running out these formations. You're running tight end screens to Gerald Everett, who can't make a player miss or break a tackle. Too many horizontal plays. Like the stuff that was working early in the game, it seems so easy to say, like, why'd you get away from it? I know defenses make adjustments, but why the hell did you get away from it? Maybe establishing DJ Moore, some single coverage with your formations would help, but I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I'm concerned.
I'm right there with you. I'm going to go a little bit lower than you, but I'll go 9.5 on this one. Again, leaving just a sliver of hope that maybe it's the quarterback that starts to make this thing look better. And I always say that find me an offensive coordinator that looks good when with a bad offensive line. It's really hard to call plays when you can't block.
That's where Shane Waldron is supposed to make his money.
Yeah. Well, and that's and we can track this back now to January. There's an overall trend right now that the Bears are sort of like skirting with like the Shanahan coaching tree, right? But there were candidates that you could have directly plucked right off that tree and not kind of been like the tree next to the tree. So they make the hire they hire. The introductory press conference, let's just call it underwhelming. But it's a press conference. So you're not going to kill the guy over a press conference.
But he didn't win. I remember him losing the press conference.
Yeah, he lost the press conference, but it's a press conference. Okay, it's not a game, it's a press conference. Then we go to the Super Bowl and walk into an accidental answer that was very concerning from Jackson Smith and Jigba in that viral moment on CHGO where he just basically had nothing good to say about Shane Waldron. And, you look at that and not every player is going to be happy about their coaching. He's a rookie. Maybe he didn't play as much as he thought, whatever. You can kind of justify these all along, but they start to add up. And then you get all the way to week 1 last week. And again, it's like, all right, it's just one game. But there were so many questions about the personnel usage. And you can go look at the snap counts from last night. There were some significant changes from week 1 that were made. Like the tight ends flipped in terms of playing time. Cole Kmet played significantly more than Gerald Everett. And that's how it should have been last week. But then I'm watching even before last night's game, Johns. I'm watching the Saints Cowboys. You know who their offensive coordinator is in New Orleans?
Clint Kubiak.
Clint Kubiak, who I believe the Bears interviewed twice. Do you know where Clint Kubiak was last year?
San Francisco.
With the 49ers, with Kyle Shanahan as their passing game coordinator. And it's just, the Saints are in Dallas. Now, I get they have a veteran quarterback, and Derek Carr, it has way more experience than Caleb Williams. I get all that. But there's motion that makes sense. There's plays off of plays. There seems to be an identity in that offense that the Bears are completely lacking right now. And I'm highly concerned that I get it's only week 2. But the other way to look at that is it's only week 2 and there's this many problems.
I think part of that, and we'll get to this later, is we've seen this before. We've heard similar things. We've heard similar explanations for why things aren't going right. Even Cole Kmet himself, in the locker room, to his credit, goes, I'm sorry, but I feel like we've talked about this many times before. And even had to chuckle about it. Like,
because we have.
Yeah. Yes, it's true. It's true. So through 2 games, small sample size, the Bears are averaging 3 yards per play. 3 yards per play. Just to give you an idea, like the Bears defense, we can all agree is very good. They're allowing 4.5 yards per play. The Bears offense is averaging 3 yards per play. Caleb Williams is averaging 4 yards per pass attempt. 4 yards per pass attempt. Not good.
And we can keep the discussion going. It's just, I'm sure you're getting the same text from the same people that we've gotten for years and years and years, whether they're people in the league or they're our Packer buddies, because we both went to college in Wisconsin. Basically ripping the quarterback play, and it's the next. This is what everyone feared, and I do still believe this is going to be different. We're going to talk about our panic level for Caleb here in a second, but there's no comeback to any of this. What are you supposed to say? It's like, yeah, here we go again. It's just the same. It's the same old story. There's literally nothing you could say other than, well, I think it's going to be different this time because it's just a different. It's actually just a different human being playing quarterback, so it's got to be.
The comeback has to happen on the field with the actual quarterback leading comebacks.
Yeah.
That's what has to happen for the conversation to be different.
Before we get to the two rookies, panic level on head coach Matt Eberflus.
5. I think the locker room was fine. I think the defense was a bit angry in that locker room yesterday. But you always start when you – I've heard this from people around the league for years. When you're looking at a head coach, start with his areas of expertise first. That's where the evaluation has to begin. The Bears defense is doing its job. Yes, the two challenges were bad, but there's a lot that goes into it. If anything, that was like a gamble on some key moments where his guys upstairs are trying to do the best they can as fast as they can to get good video on things. And obviously they failed. The process failed Matt Eberflus on national television. It's not just his instantaneous decision. Sometimes it does feel like that because there's a gamble, but the Bears defense, as we said off the top of the show, delivered the offense an opportunity to go win the game in the final 137. That's what you hope for in such moments on the road in a tough environment. The defense did its job. Locker room seems to be together. I would question maybe his influence on some Shane Waldron things, but as far as I know it, Waldron has full autonomy to almost do everything he wants offensively. So right now for Flus, after 2 games, it's a 5. I mean, the Bears are 1-1 because his defense delivered a win. That in itself brings the panic meter down to Matt Eberflus.
Yeah. I'm going to go slightly higher than you. Only because this is his second offensive coordinator already. And the results actually seem worse through 2 games. And if we're going to see quarterback meetings, one-on-one quarterback meetings featured on Hard Knocks, which was a highly edited television show, they showed you what they wanted to show you. You got to back it up. If you're going to go in there and show that you're meeting with the quarterback as often as you are, and you're going through plays and you're going through tape, then the responsibility falls on you too. I mean, it's just fair. If that's how we're going to do it.
Fair. Yeah.
You hire the OC. You're highly involved in the selection of Caleb Williams from the start. What was it, a 2-hour meeting they had on the USC campus back in March at the pro day, one-on-one, right? It was something like that. It was a long, long meeting. So this is all on Flus too when it comes to the offense. There's this. So the only reason it's not higher is because everything's going seemingly pretty well on defense, and this is his defense, and that's great. But I'm still going to go on the higher end of this 1 to 10 scale because of how bad it's been offensively. Rome Odunze.
See, this is a tough one for me. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt because of his injury situation. I mean, the guy went from week to week in initial reporting to day to playing in prime time with a sprained MCL. Albeit not the most difficult of sprains or serious of sprains, but he played as a rookie. That should be like the first touchdown scored by the Bears this year on offense should have been a Rome Odunze touchdown catch. Actually, should have been a Keenan Allen touchdown.
Yeah, I was going to say, should have been Keenan Allen last week.
So with that in the past, fast forward to last night, now it's Rome Odunze's opportunity. Right through his hands, maybe a bit high, maybe his knee prevented him from getting
got to catch it.
Catch vertical. Yeah, he's got to catch the ball. And then, like, I thought for sure that he was going to be breaking that one in the fourth quarter, in the final 2 minutes there, where he had open field. And I think that's where you saw the injury come into play, where he didn't have that burst, that velocity that he typically has that we saw in training camp, that ability to separate. Now, I know the NFL is faster. It's going to be different than it was for him at Washington. But I thought for sure he was looking at 15, 20 more yards or even better on that play, but didn't have the same burst that he usually does. So I'm going to say 5 right now. It is only 2 games. I think Shane Waldron belongs in this conversation too, because I think he can do a better job of establishing his best players.
Agree. You got to find a
DJ
way.
Moore too, but yes, go ahead.
Yeah, you got to find a way to target him more. And that falls on coaching, especially in a game where Keenan Allen wasn't playing. You got to find a way. Now, that being said, through 2 games, 9 targets, 3 catches. The targets should be higher. The catches should be higher. The yardage should be higher, 44 yards, most of which came on that 27-yard catch and run that, as you said, could be probably should have been more. Honestly, the play that concerned me the most was the last play of the game. I don't know the playbook. I don't know what's supposed to be in run. I do know it was 4th and 17. And Caleb threw it to the sidelines past the first down marker. And Rome Odunze hadn't even turned around yet. He looks like he's running off to the end zone. Like and that's just not one play. There were signs of that in training camp where they weren't always on the same page. And I feel like even though it's 2 rookies, there should be a little bit more right now. In terms of the injury, he played 66 of 70 snaps. He played 94% of the game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a pretty strong indication that it wasn't really holding him back too much. I mean, I'm sure he wasn't 100%, but maybe he was 94% like his snap count indicates. That being said, my panic meter on this one, I'm only going to go a 3. I still believe in Rome Odunze. I was as high as I was on him in the draft. I think he's a very talented player. It's always sort of an adjustment period with rookie wide receivers. And obviously, he's not in the best positions, just like the quarterback right now with what's going on offensively. This is not a great position to be flourishing as a rookie right now. So I'm only a 3 on Rome Odunze. Finally, the quarterback, Caleb Williams. What's your panic level on this one?
So I've delivered 2 5s in a row, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to go a little bit higher and just say a 6 right now. A lot of it's not his fault. Doesn't feel like his fault, but I do think there's some hesitation in his throws. There was one last night, the sack where I think Will Anderson went right around Cole Kmet, which the explanation was, and he'll give you a good one on the 85 later this week, where he's coming underneath and basically, you see that play 1,000 times. He's basically coming backside to kick the end, right? He thought it was a run play. It was a run pass option on.
That makes more sense because Corey Wooten and I in that moment were sitting there, we're like, did he think that was a run play? Because he went low on him like he was run blocking. He didn't pass set.
Yes. That's exactly what happened. Hopefully I'm articulating the play right. You know what? Yeah. He got ripped on Twitter a bunch bad. For it. It looked bad because he just went right around him. Maybe lowered his head a bit, but later he explained he was run blocking. And if you look at that film, you slow it down a little bit later, there's like a little combo up top where I forget who flashes open. But Caleb, if he's going to run that RPO, has to throw that ball out there with some urgency and with a little conviction, believing his guy's going to catch it. And what may be a contested short yardage first down. Instead, another sack is taken. I think that's an example of what Eberflus was talking about in terms of protection is everyone. that whole play felt off. Maybe they ran the wrong route up top, and that's what caused Caleb to pause. Who knows? There's a lot that goes into it. Maybe we'll get a better explanation from an Eberflus over Zoom later today. I'm gonna say 6 right now. I don't like that number. I think what bothered me the most is that yesterday just felt so familiar to so many other games that we've covered. Bad
Yeah.
offensive line. I know that story. Run game can't get going. I know that story. We're the targets for the best receivers. I know that story. Quarterback gets sacked, hit, dragged to the ground. I know that story. Quarterback can't deliver in the final 2 minutes. I know that story. I've written that story a bunch of times over the past decade. I've seen it before. That's what concerns me the most. But it is only week 2. Plenty of time to make up for it. And I think when I say like all these problems for Caleb Williams, like listing all those things, that's like a full offensive problem because, again, we've covered this before. That's the most discouraging thing about last night is all of it felt too familiar. So panic mode right now for Caleb Williams. I'm going to give him a 6. Don't like that number, but he can't rise above this offense quite yet.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll shock some people here. I'm only going to go with a 2 because I actually thought that early on in that game, when both teams were kind of feeling each other out, and before the Bears had established the fact that they couldn't establish the run. There were some good throws. There was the 3rd and 12 to DeAndre Carter. There was an actual slant on 3rd down that was completed to DJ Moore. That in the moment I was having like a Justin Fields, oh no, he's not going to throw it. And no, he threw it. It was thrown. It was completed. It was a good gain on 3rd down. It wasn't until it seemed like everything started falling apart around him that then I think you started running into sort of the things that he can be blamed for as well. It's just now, if you're going to ask me, what's my panic? And this kind of encompasses everything we've been talking about here. What's my panic level that this is not going to be a good environment for him to develop? I mean, I'm pretty freaking high on that right now. Like probably more like an 8 or 9. Maybe even higher than that. Because you add up all these panic levels, that's kind of what it adds up to. But for Caleb himself, and still how much I believe in him as the quarterback prospect, that's where I'm only like at a 2. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I think that's almost why my panic level is so high.
Yours is higher because you're trying to put it. Yeah, I get it.
Because there's so much crap going on around them.
Yeah, it's a good way.
It's a tough situation to develop in, and I keep saying this. Maybe it's because the Titans' defensive line is good. Maybe it's because the Texans' defensive line is good, and they decided to blitz beyond aggressively because he's a rookie quarterback and throw different things at him. He's going to see stuff like that, but because the run game can't get started, because certain players are struggling on the offensive line, because Shane Waldron seems to be figuring things out offensively. Like those are problems that relate to the development of the quarterback. And I'm starting to get concerned about how this plays out.
So, yeah. And if you're going right now, you're watching this, you're going, there you go, Adam Hoge. Again, you're just, trying to make excuses and justify things with all the crap around the quarterback. Yeah, I pretty much am. But it's a never-ending conversation here. Like how much blame the quarterback should get. And I'm just like right now, for a quarterback making his 2nd NFL start, it's hard for me to put too much on him right now. But if you're sitting there going, yeah, this is the same old story, going down this road again, I do not have a rebuttal for you right now. Other than it's been 2 games. And the thing about the great ones, they end up making all the crap smell a lot better. And because it's not like Patrick Mahomes' situation in Kansas City has been perfect. And now he's got his own deal. I mean, since they traded Tyreek Hill, it's not like he's had a ton of weapons. Now they got Pacheco down there. The great ones, it's not like Tom Brady had the greatest wide receivers always. They make the guys around them better. They figure it out. That's a lot to ask a rookie quarterback right now, though. But I still do believe in Caleb Williams. And I'm also acknowledging that if you're sitting there looking at this the complete opposite way, just saying, here we go again, I think it's a little early for that, but I have no rebuttal for you. I really don't. I can't sit here and other than just saying I think Caleb Williams is different and sort of having that belief. That's really all I can do here after 2 weeks.
So in my column this morning, you read it on theathletic.com. I didn't call. To me, Sunday night wasn't Caleb Williams' welcome to the NFL moment. It was his welcome to the Bears moment. And you know what I mean by that, right? Like, for everything that we've talked about for years, bad offensive play calling, bad offensive line play, duds on prime time, a lot of pressure on the quarterback. We know this story. That's what last night was. It's the Bears story.
Yeah, and to end that part of the conversation, last night on CHGO, we had 3 former Bears bring up games like Justin Fields in Cleveland. Jason Campbell in San Francisco was a game that Corey Wooten played in that he brought up, where Jamarcus Webb was a turnstile all night. Jay Cutler in New York, right? Wasn't it against the Giants? He got sacked 10 times. That game last night was up there with as much as Caleb Williams got hit, the way in which he got hit, the way in which he really didn't have a chance. And what's so concerning about that is from top down, the Bears have been trying to get across that message that this time it's different.
And
the evidence,
so
right?
much,
Yeah, the evidence suggests different right now.
it felt so much like the same on Sunday. And that in itself is beyond disappointing.
We changed the conversation a little bit from likes and dislikes because of kind of how that game went. I don't know if there's a whole lot to like. However, we should probably mention some of those things. I mean, I did mention a few of the throws I liked. I also like that Cairo Santos is keeping pace with what seems like the entire rest of the league, making 50+ yard field goals like they're nothing these days. So that's good. I like that the Bears once punted and gained 18 yards of offense. That was one of their explosive plays last night. John's Torrey Taylor punted, and then the Texans punter punted back, and the Bears were way better at punting, so they netted 18 yards out of it.
Hidden yards. Isn't it what Fangio used to call it? Like, some coaches will call it that. The hidden yards that don't get talked about a lot, but end up changing games.
Yeah. You got any other likes?
I like that the Bears defense only gave up 3 points in the second half.
Yeah.
I like that they were able to get to Stroud at some point. I didn't like that they had to blitz to get it, but they were facing a better defensive line. Your guy, Jack Sanborn, with the big sack in the second half. I like that. I didn't like Gerald Everett's drop in the final 2 minutes. Like, he hits that, maybe we're talking about something different. Like, he catches that, maybe this is a different story because now you're not looking at 2nd and 10 in a one-on-one situation with Darnell Wright versus Danielle Hunter. Who knows? Trying to think of what else that I didn't like. The penalties coming out of breaks. Like, those are the most infuriating penalties to me. Even like covering them. And I didn't even think it was that loud in that stadium, to be honest. The roof was open. It's not known for being that loud, I guess.
And there were a ton of Bears fans there too.
A ton of Bears fans. I like that. I like that the Bears fans were noticeable. You could hear their chants. Yeah, I didn't like all those false starts by the offensive line.
I got one more dislike, and this one's actually on the defensive side of the ball, and I am a little worried about it. Montez Sweat only played 66% of the snaps. And there were moments, I know you tweeted in the game during the game that he was not on the field along with Javon Dexter and DeMarcus Walker on the Texans' one touchdown. Now that you can kind of justify as like, well, they were in the middle of a drive and the defensive linemen got to be rotated at some point to get their breath back. And it just, unfortunately they took advantage of it. And that's football. There were times though when they were starting a new defensive series and he wasn't out there.
That also came after a quarter break.
Yeah.
And those players were and the backups were on the field for the final couple plays going into the end of the first quarter.
So, I mean, he was not on the injury report this week after he was in week 1. We know he was dealing with the toe in training camp. But DeMarcus Walker played 84% of the snaps. Sweat played 66. Just something to continue to watch there. I don't like that. But
I disliked how the referees, the officials, handled things on the sidelines. I thought the Texans got away with a late hit on Caleb Williams out of bounds.
Yes.
And then they also got away with a punch thrown into the face mask of Hoge Jahns. Watching that replay, it looks like the officials just couldn't see it because of all the players around there, but you got to get in there.
It's also such a silly rule. College football fixed this a few years ago when I think it used to be that you couldn't review for targeting unless a flag was thrown in the first place. It was like, well, that's dumb. Like if you have replay, either use it or don't use it. But it's the same type of thing. It's like, well, you can't eject somebody for a clear and blatant punch because no one threw a flag. Like the punch happened. It's all over TV. What are you talking about? So anyway, that guy will definitely get fined, if not possibly suspended, because he would have been ejected from that game had a flag been thrown. Now he might get suspended because he wasn't ejected from this game. But I did like that the Bears I did like that the Bears went nuts and defended Caleb on that play.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm not sure that one was a late hit because he was sort of still in bounds.
No, that one was not a late hit.
Yeah. But late hit or not, I love that they came to his defense. I also love that they didn't retaliate. I saw Roshan Johnson tweet like, I wanted to punch that guy so bad. That's really hard to do in that moment. You get hit in the face and you don't because if he had thrown something back, the officials would have seen that one.
Yeah.
Just like when Tyreek Stevenson poked that. Was it Stephon Diggs or was it Tank Dell? Or was it Nico Collins? I think it was Nico Collins actually. It was Nico. He poked him right in the eye, basically, which that wasn't cool. But then Collins retaliated and he got flagged. So the Bears got away with that one too. I actually thought the Bears got away with most of the missed calls last night, but there were some too that could have helped them. All right, let's end the show by getting a super chats. We do not have voicemails today just because of the short turnaround from last night's game. That takes some time to edit. We do plan on having those to you, most Mondays throughout the season on these Monday morning recap episodes. But we will share those on Wednesday's episode. I'm sure they are hot and fiery. In the meantime, though, we got a bunch of super chats we will get to before we get out of here. Eli Sherman, $4.99. Caleb with the shortest time to throw in the NFL this week, 2.5 seconds. He's different. Unfortunately, this offensive line isn't. No more bargain bin Ryan. Love you, Adams. Thank you, Eli.
I think some of that, like his release time, is misleading because I think we've seen so many screens so far, like over the first 2 games.
We've seen very few that have worked. Yeah.
Also true.
Menacing Machina, $2. Take out the guards and run a 3-man line.
I think that's like Kevin Fishbane's football team where they had a 3-man line.
Yeah.
That didn't work out for them. Just saying. Good joke, though.
Put Mercedes Lewis at tackler? I don't know. Toxic King Christian 499. Overreaction, but should they bench Caleb to save him like the Pats are doing with Drake May?
No.
No, but this is why some teams don't want to play the rookie quarterbacks when they don't feel like they have the supporting cast around them. However, the Bears thought they did.
Yes, they felt they did. Yes.
They really did. And I imagine there's some hard conversations going on in that building this morning. Chris Kettle, 5 pounds sterling. Could Amagaji be an option at guard? He played left guard in college, graded better at tackle, but then Jenkins to right guard and play Bates and another at center. Help. Well, Bates is on IR now.
The last time we didn't see much of Amagaji in training camp, but the last time we saw him, he was behind Braxton Jones at left tackle.
I also don't think he looks like a guard. He looks more like a tackle
because of his long arms.
He's taller and kind of, he's not as wide. Like Darnell Wright is wide. If we're going to go down that road, and I'm sure they don't want to go to this nuclear option, I would probably kick Darnell Wright inside and play Amagaji at tackle.
That's like, did you call that the nuclear option?
The nuclear option. Well, we discussed another one last night. Well, can I sell you maybe on this one? How about moving Tevin Jenkins back to right guard?
And who's left guard?
You are the left guard. that part of the, yeah. But the thinking behind that would just be at least you're putting Tevin and Darnell Wright next to each other on the same side, and maybe that improves the running game to the right side at least.
And we have results that actually speak to that.
Right. Enough of Nate Davis. Come on. This is like getting the Velus Jones level of stubbornness. It's enough. Mr. H, $10. Is the running game issue Waldron's scheme, a running back problem, offensive line, or all three? Maybe the O-line is used to last year when Fields would take off to run all the time. I'm befuddled.
Yeah, but even when like you couldn't count Fields' yardage with that, some of those were. I get that some of them were design runs, but some of them were a big portion of it was scrambles. But they still ran the ball better with Herbert. How about giving Herbert the ball more until Swift feels his way out in this offense? Something feels off between the scheme, the line, and the backs. The holes aren't there. Maybe they're not hitting them or reading it. Maybe the backs aren't reading it the way it should be, but a lot of it feels off.
I do want to raise my hand on one thing I missed in training camp because we were all pretty impressed with DeAndre Swift in camp, but his contact balance is definitely not elite. And that's something we couldn't see in camp because they can't try to tackle you. And now all of a sudden you got guys diving in his feet. And there's been 2, 3, maybe 4 runs these last 2 weeks where I'm like, dude, pick up your feet. Like, don't go down on that. Like, that's just not enough contact in the NFL to go down on.
There was a screenplay to the left where I felt like, oh, this could go. This could go.
Yeah.
And then he got tripped up. I think it only turned into a 7 or 8 yard game, but one move there in the open field.
Yeah.
You're thinking
that's just
touchdown.
So for me, that's an example of a guy looking really good in camp when he can't be tackled, and it doesn't quite translate the same way to the game. Daniel Trump closes us out with $10. O-line decisions about who blocks, whom seems suspicious. I've seen several free rushers.
I think some of that was I think some of that was the blitzing by the Texans last night.
Yeah, well, they need to figure out how to pick up a stunt, pass things off. That's not high level stuff at this point. All right, we need to go because Johns needs to go catch his flight, or he'll never come back from Houston.
And I want to come back.
Yes, there's no other flights. This is the last one, and you better get to the airport and come back home. So, all right, Bears fans. Hopefully, this qualified as an okay therapy session for you on this Monday morning. Again, they were in a game against a really good team on the road. They had the ball in the fourth quarter with a chance to win. Now, the difference between that and actually having a realistic chance to pull it out, I think there's a gap there that definitely needs to be filled. But the schedule softens up. The Colts looked horrible against the Packers yesterday. The Rams have a million injuries. And then the Carolina Panthers are actually being kicked out of the NFL. There was an announcement this morning.
Georgia is actually coming up.
So the next 3 weeks before the Bears go to London look okay. And I still think this will be a competitive team. When you put things in the Caleb Williams context, there are things that are definitely concerning. Hey, you want to check out the Scoop City podcast with Diana Rossini, Chase Daniel? We are going to be making an appearance on Scoop City. And so make sure you are subscribed to that podcast from The Athletic as well, and you'll be able to hear some more conversation about all of this with us, because we're going to go do that podcast as well. And you should check out HoganJahns.com for all of our merch. All our information on the show is there. And follow us on Twitter at Adam Hogue, at Adam Johns, and our show account at Hogan Johns. If this is your first time watching the show on YouTube, please hit subscribe. Help us continue to grow the channel. If you've been here many, many times before, take the link, send it off to a friend, recruit some more Bears fans over here. We greatly appreciate that. And if you're listening the old-fashioned way as a podcast where we've been for 10 seasons now, we thank you very, very much. Please rate and review the pod there. And go check out the YouTube channel as well. Hit subscribe for us, even if you don't usually consume the show that way. It greatly helps support the program here. We will be back on Wednesday morning. We'll see what type of answers the Bears have by then. We'll talk to you later.
See ya.